Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. Alhamdulillahi alladhi bi ni'matihi tatimmu salihat. والصلاة والسلام على النبي العربي المبعوث للناس أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Respected brothers, it's always great to be back here, especially seeing that you've braved the thunderstorms and the rain just to get here. May Allah bless you and reward you. Let's hope we don't have to swim back. It is quite bad out there. It's raining, flooding. The road outside is flooded by the junction. But just goes to show that you have that inner desire to be here to learn the deen of Allah, how to improve yourselves as Muslims. So may Allah accept it from you. I want to begin by just quickly recapping. The last time I was here, I spoke about the importance of going back to school, education, starting off on the right foot, as to speak. So I hope you've implemented those lessons that we learned in the last lecture. This is perhaps even more important. This lecture today is very important, and so I want you to try and pay as much attention as you can, because I can see vast majority of you are youngsters and this directly impacts you. And the majority of you who are youngsters, I think you may be, some of you I can see are accompanied by the elders who we call gatekeepers. They also have a responsibility to make sure that the environment at home is conducive for you to have a great start in life. Okay, quick recap. We spoke about time the last time I was here, not the talk about education, the one previous to that. And I just want to quickly recap for a few minutes, set the context before we go further, about how in Islam, qimatul waqt is a very important concept, the value of time. Before you know it, you'll be in your teens, adults, grey hair, and everything else that comes with this. You'll say, where did the time go? Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathirun minan nas. As-sihhatu wal faragh. Two blessings that many of us, we press the self-destruct button. Health and free time. These are given to us by Allah. But we tend to overlook these things. And only when these things are gone, then we say, oh, like the saying goes, you don't know what you have until it's gone. So making sure we put that into context, the whole concept of time, let's move forward now. And I want to explain, today's lecture is going to be a bit more scientific than Islamic. Okay? And I'm going to make sure that I use terminology which is relevant to a younger audience. Okay? Try and make it a bit more simpler. So I want to begin, let's set the context again. We've moved away from time. Let's come to today's 21st century. And I'm sure you will all agree with me that wherever we go nowadays, especially when there's toddlers at someone's house, or 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, maybe older. Before, back in our time, or slightly later, even up until the last 15 years, generally when you went to a house when there was a child or a toddler, you'd hear a sound of things like Lego, things crashing on the floor, toy cars, bit of activity, kinesthetic activity. Now it's the opposite. Now you'll see a child who's quietly sat on a sofa, clutching an iPad. And the parents are thinking they're doing a great service to the child. They're keeping him quiet. They're keeping him entertained. However, social scientists and doctors have come out with something else to wake us up, to say, hey guys, this isn't making them better cognitively from a mental perspective. It's really bad, and I'll explain this as we go forward. Okay, so that's the context, and I'm sure you will all agree that wherever we go, we are seeing youngsters clutching these iPads. I remember back in the days, it used to be, okay, son, give my iPad back, or daughter, because generally adults used to have iPads. And a youngster used to come and snatch the iPad and say, give my iPad back. Now, us as parents, we buy them iPads. Here, son, here's your iPad. You don't need to take mine anymore. This is your own iPad, your tablet. Is this the right thing to do? We'll find out later. So I'm going to give you some research now. The American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay? Pediatrics, by the way, are doctors who focus on a specific period of your life, from birth all the way up till you're 17 or 18. They are called pediatricians. They are people who focus on the mental, physical, health, well-being of all of you youngsters. That's their primary aim. They won't focus on the seniors. They won't focus on anyone else who's in the adult. They will just focus on you youngsters from the age of 0 all the way up till the age of 18. Okay? And they've come out with some research that was published a few years ago. And they said that the first 2 years of a child's life is vital for brain development. Okay? And according to their research, parents are giving their children up until the age of 2. As they get older, it's more. But up until the age of 2, they're getting at least 1 hour exposure of a tablet a day. And they're saying that this is negatively impacting the child's development. So you must be thinking, okay, how is it negatively impacting? They're saying at this key age, the child thrives on kind of hands-on exploration, social interaction. It's making a sense of the environment around it. Okay? This is a crucial time. And if you interrupt this essential learning journey by giving them a tablet and basically dumbing down a child, it will impact their functioning, their brain, their development, their social skills, their learning and their development. I just want to give you a quick example that we can all relate to, those of us who travel back home, South Asia, any other part of the world. Have you ever noticed, even if you take an 8 or 10-year-old from here and you go back to your village and you see a 3-year-old in the village, he's a lot faster, sharper, talks a lot more, will be holding insects, running around, will run circles around the kids from the UK. Our kids tend to be a bit more passive, reserved, quieter, observing everything. Whereas the child from the other part of the world, because they haven't been sitting in front of the TV or on a tablet, they have actually been developing their cognitive, their brain. They've been getting that stimulation. And this is what social scientists are worried about, that we are not getting, so that development is not happening. The child will be climbing trees in other parts of the world. They'll be running around, making sense of the environment around him, because social scientists or educationists say there's a few ways of learning. You could be an audio learner, a person who listens, visual, or even kinesthetic. You want to touch and feel things to understand things better. So you can imagine when you're young and you're given a tablet, then what you're doing, you are stunting the development of your brain. You are not able to engage. And this leads to issues such as social anxiety later. We'll discuss this. It's a big issue with the next generation. Social anxiety. They cannot see the world in 3D. They see it in 2D. Everything is behind a screen. And every time they have to put the screen away and speak to someone, they are overcome with fear, anxiety. They have no social skills. They're not, all these things because they're used to doing things on the tablet. So that was the American Academy of Pediatrics. Then we have some more research which was published in the Journal of Pediatrics in 2022. And they said that children who spend more time in front of screens, they show lower, it's called white matter integrity, but again, we'll break it down. A certain part of the brain, white matter integrity, which is crucial for developing language, literacy, and all these cognitive skills. So what is this white matter integrity? Basically, it is the part of the brain that deals with the communication pathways. Okay? So they're saying it's not working smoothly when you're in front of the screens and you're doing what I'm doing now, you're going up and down, and it slows down your thinking, your communication, and it affects your memory. So this is what your tablets are doing to you. So right from the onset, right from the word go, we have to understand that these devices, according to doctors and scientists who really focus on these issues, they are detrimental, they are counterproductive, they're not positive, they're negative for you as a youngster. You should be really going out there and exploring everything, getting everything activated mentally and physically, and letting all the chemicals and everything really operate and fire in your bodies. But if you are just sitting down like a jacket potato and just going on these, then it's going to affect you as you grow older. So now that we've understood that it affects your learning and it affects your memory and it affects your social skills, let's see how these people addict you. How did this technology hook you in? What's going on? So that you can be wiser as you grow older. And I always say this at the beginning, Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah. I have a phone, and I've had a phone since 2012, 10. I only have a simple Facebook. I have no Twitter, no Instagram, no TikTok, no YouTube, no Snapchat. I don't have any of this. So I feel when I speak on these issues, I feel that I can conform to certain values that I hold high. Okay? I feel I can kind of walk the walk. Okay? Because I've seen what these things do, and if I only have a basic Facebook, and I'm thinking sometimes you have to go into Facebook, upload something, basically marketing to show, and then sometimes you do find yourself for 20 minutes going through things and, But I'm thinking if I'm spending 20 minutes, half an hour, I only have Facebook. Imagine people who've got Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, which we'll talk about later, which they call digital crack cocaine, right? They must be spending 3 or 4 hours a day. So how do they hook you in? Remember, these devices weren't created for you children. When Steve Jobs in 2007, when he launched Apple, he launched it for an adult community. It was supposed to be designed for adults. They'd never had children in mind. It was to pack everything into a device for adults. So everything, emails, whatever you want to do, adults, they never thought about children. And then as a result, you were collateral damage, as you can say. Later on, children wanted to get hooked onto it, and parents were saying, okay, you can have a phone. But now researchers are saying that these things were not even created for youngsters. They were created for adults. It's like somebody creating a Tesla. Like Elon Musk is creating Tesla. And it's like giving the keys to the youngsters. Here, you go and drive. He was smashing it over here, breaking speed limits here. It was designed for adults. The phones, the whole tech industry, Silicon Valley created this for adults. And it's affecting the youngsters a lot more. We'll tell you how it's affecting them. So, one part of the brain, remember, Allah's created us human beings. All these things I'm going to mention, you always have to refer back to Allah. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah has created the human being in the best form, but the human being is being manipulated now by scientists. Yeah, things like dopamine, which we'll talk about. Elon Musk didn't create dopamine. Allah created dopamine inside us. And dopamine is a part of the brain that gives you motivation to go out and do something. Because it's mentioned in experiments that if you take dopamine out of a human being, he'll die. He'll have no willpower. He wouldn't want to live. They did that in rats. They took dopamine out of their brain and this withered away. They didn't have no motivation. What dopamine has been created by Allah is to give you that motivation to get up and work. Go out and put food on the table. Because when you see food on the table, when you get your wage at the end, you get dopamine release. And many other ways of getting dopamine release, okay? But what's happened now is that technology has hijacked that part of the brain to give you free dopamine. So the more you want dopamine, the more you're going to crash because you're overstimulating a part of the brain. that is not supposed to be overstimulated. So this is very important thing, guys, to know about dopamine. Even when you play games, Fortnite, Xbox, PlayStation, anything that you play, they have been specifically created by the tech industry to make sure that they keep you on the edge. Every time you break that box in Fortnite and you get a weapon, you get a dopamine rush and you're looking for the next box and you're anticipating the reward. When you anticipate a reward, that's what dopamine is basically. It's not that buzz that you get, it's the anticipation. It's the thrill of the chase. It's not the fix, it's the thrill of the chase. What is it going to be next? That's why they used to mention the gamblers. You know, people used to be hooked on gambling. I don't know if you see, sometimes you go to a service station, you go past, you see all these sounds and stuff, you see all these lights and everything. People who are gambling, kind of weak when it comes to gambling, they will go inside and the sounds, the colors, they are all there to stimulate that part of the brain. The next thing you know, money comes out, put money in, they're anticipating. And even if they win, what happens? They put it all back in. Because the engineers have understood and they've hijacked the dopamine part of the brain. That's for gambling. Now when it comes to your phones, your games, they want to steal as much of your time as possible. So some of you may be thinking, well, what's the harm with that? I'm sitting at home. I'm not doing anything bad. You are. You're doing a lot of stuff which is bad to your own self that you don't realize yet. You're depleting your natural supply in your brain of certain chemicals which are supposed to be used for other things. Are you able to resist this though? You're thinking, you know what? I can't just control myself. You know what? My dad's bought me a PS. I've got an Xbox, I've got a phone. I'm just going to sit at home. I'm going to keep scrolling all day. I can't. I'm addicted. Is there a way that you can bypass this? There is. There was research done by Walter Mitchell, 1960s. And I mentioned this before in the talk, but it's quite important. I did this talk about three or 4 years ago, and I bring this up in the book as well. It's called the Marshmallow experiment, where children were taken. 50, 60 trial children were taken to a building when they were put into small rooms. And there was a hidden camera in the rooms, and a child was sat by himself, and they placed in front of the child some sweets, marshmallows. They said, here, look. That's yours. That's yours. You can have this. I'm going out of this room for 10 minutes. That's yours. But if you are able to resist the urge to take it right now, you don't want instant gratification. You want to wait a bit. You want deferred gratification. We'll give you 2. What are you going to do? Do you want it now? Or are you going to wait, be patient, and get a bigger reward? And this is where they began to understand the psychology of man. Like, is he able to resist? And what type of people are able to resist? And what do they go on to become? Those who can resist and those who can't resist. So let's have a look at the results. The first group, overwhelming majority, because insan has been created weak. They couldn't resist even before the researcher had left the room. Basically, when he turned his back, quickly opened up took from the marshmallows and started to eat it. We don't care if you give us 10 packets. These are just too irresistible. I want it now. I don't care what I've lost, what the trade-off is. I want it now. I just want to eat. That was the vast majority of the research participants, the youngsters. The second group, they tried to be clever. They didn't realize there were hidden cameras. They waited for the researcher to go. They waited 5 minutes. When they realized there's nobody there, who's going to know? They took out the marshmallow and they began to lick it and taste it. Who's going to know? And put it back. Had a little nibble here. Who's going to know? They thought they were clever. The third ones, which were only a handful, they were the best. What did they do? Some of them, they picked up the marshmallows and they put them out the way. Out of sight, out of mind. Folded the arms and they waited. Some of them, they didn't even bother touching. They thought even touching was a sin. They just turned their face away, folded their arms, and they looked in the opposite direction. They were the third group, those who had strong motivation. So the research doesn't end here. It follows these people for 20 to 30 years to see their choices, those who want something now, how it impacts them later. And this is very important for you guys to understand, to see where you fall into. The first ones who couldn't resist and they wanted it now, they were willing to commit, basically press the self-destruct button, even though more reward was promised. They did really bad in school, in and out of school. They had no real solid circle of friends, fighting, bickering, one gang out the other, in and out of prison, couldn't hold down a stable job, in and out of marriage. Basically a dysfunctional is a nicer way of putting it. Second were those ones who were a bit kind of, who's going to see? And they picked up the sweet and they licked it and they put it back. Those people, they followed the lives of those people. They did okay in life. They did okay. But there were certain parts of their life when they were caught out by the system. Maybe some tax evasion or whatever. They still had that thing about that gambling nature. Who's going to know? Let's do this. But the real successful ones were the last group, the smaller group, who didn't want instant gratification. They wanted deferred gratification. They wanted to do the hard work for 10 minutes and wait and then get this double reward. They did really well in school. They did really well in university. They went on to get jobs, good career, stable marriage, happy all the way through. So this just goes to show that you can either be a person who understands the dangers of the devices and say, okay, let me get that balance. I'm not going to say, okay, get the device and throw it out the window. You can use screens and phones, but you have that moderation, you have the balance. Or, because I don't care. Next week, I'm going to be the best student. I'm going to work hard. This week, let me enjoy. Next week comes, no. The following week, you're playing with your brain because the dopamine has been hijacked. Your brain is just enjoying it too much. It's enjoying eating those marshmallows. It doesn't care what the risks are and what the harmful impact is on your well-being. It's okay, let me eat. I don't care what's happening. I'm enjoying the here and the now. So this is something for you guys to understand. And this is also part of the dunya. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Allah is mentioning that the akhirah is long-lasting, is better than the immediate pleasure that you want. Sometimes you want to do a sin or you want to do something at the expense of maybe a place in Jannah, which could be a higher level in Jannah. But you want something which is against Islam, maybe against your own spiritual well-being, because when you do something wrong, your spirit, your soul feels tarnished. It feels as though, I don't feel good now. I've done something that I wasn't supposed to. I looked at something that I wasn't supposed to. I listened to something that I wasn't supposed to. I feel guilty now. And this guilt is a way of saying that that thing was haram. You don't never feel guilty in doing something good. You don't say, well, I prayed with Jama'ah in congregation and I fasted, I did itikaf. You know what? I feel guilty. I don't feel good about myself. No, you feel elated. Whereas if you do something wrong, you go and buy some cigarettes and you're smoking and then deep down, I don't feel good now. I've got to wash my hands and my soul is not at rest. So again, it's about choices. You can make the choices. It's up to you. Now that you know how this system works, how it's playing with your brain. So now that you know about this instant gratification, the dopamine, let's look at how it's impacting you, because you have to really value your body, your mental state, your life, because as you're growing up, you're still making a sense of who you are. This is natural. As a teenager, as a youngster, you don't know what you are yet. Yeah? I'm enjoying myself. What am I going to be when I grow older? I don't know. You're still making a sense of the environment around you. And what we call at this part of your life is emotional instability. And what you don't want during this time of your life, when you're trying to make friends, trying to develop your personality, trying to develop your character, is to hinder this, because you go on devices so much that you become a person who could have had so much potential, but you just become a person who's just like a hermit. A hermit means a person who just doesn't want to talk to anyone, just hides away. You could have been the person who could have gone on with everyone in school and in class, but you chose to go on the devices so much that it led you to having these things that I'm going to speak about now. So, what are the consequences? We have mentioned it reduces your social skills. Okay, again, there was research done. I have all this stuff in the book, inshallah. When it's out mid-October, feel free. You can read it and you'll see. One research was they took 20 participants out camping for a week, youngsters. And they left 20 in a house with their devices for a week. And they wanted to see who was better when it came to social skills after. And they found that those who were out camping, enjoying, doing everything, team building, everything, they bonded better. They spoke, their social skills were amazing up there. Those who just stayed on their devices in a room or in a house or in a lodge, they were just like nothing compared to those people who were out and about, enjoying, talking, savoring the experience, enjoying their time together. So this is very important, that the more time you spend on these screens, you're going to be 2D. You're never going to be 3D. Your life is going to be black and white. It will never have color. Because Allah has created us, we are social animals. Allah hasn't created us to be boxed off from the dunya. That's why Allah has given us a voice, eyes. You can see, they call this thing called now Zoom fatigue. Right? Post-COVID, people are having meetings on Zoom and they sometimes 2 or 3, 4 hours a day, and they're saying, you know what? I used to sit with people for 6 hours a day. And I used to feel fresh. And for 4 hours, I'm finished. Because what happens, the 3D element goes, because the screen knocks out the 3D. You're 2D. And you can't see the emotion, the expression, the body language. And you're just looking at a screen and your brain is just getting fried. Making you depressed. We'll speak about depression soon as well. You shouldn't be depressed at this age. If you are depressed at this age, and unfortunately the science is saying that you are depressed at this age, and I explain why, then it's something very worrying. Very worrying. Mental health issues, all these things, emotional growth, all these things develop. Now, why could you be upset mentally, anxiety, depression? Let me tell you one reason why. When you have access to Instagram, Facebook, and you are uploading pictures and photos, maybe there's other people in your class who, when they upload, they get more likes, they get more comments. Wow, you're looking good, but you don't get any. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're less of a person than the other person. It just means maybe the other person didn't have time to view your post or whatever, but it makes you feel insecure about yourself. Then you start saying, maybe nobody likes me in class. Then you start thinking, maybe it's because of this, maybe it's because of that, and then all of a sudden you become insecure. And this is proven by research, by the way, guys. It's not made up. Insecurity breeds because of lack of interaction on social media. And we know social media is fake. That's not your real friends. Your real friends are your offline friends, not your online friends. Online friends are it's a gallery of people who you may not know properly. Your real friends are those who you have memories with, you can share moments with, you know them. Those are your friends. But because you're not getting that interaction, your personality as it's developing, it puts you into a certain, pigeonholes you into a certain thing. You think, oh, you know what? I'm going to grow up being a person nobody likes. You're going to university like this. You're going to work like this. Very shy to speak. Because you're thinking that you're your guy, that if I do say something, nobody's going to say, oh, well said. I like that comment. Because you never had any positive comments on Instagram or Facebook. So now you need to start thinking, do I really need to be on these all the time? Looking for that fix or that dopamine or that comment. Isn't it better to develop my social skills? And that's one thing we're lacking. And I mentioned this again in the book, and the researchers also pointed this out. You can have 6 people in a house and all of them are on the screens, and the elders are not on the screens because they're not as savvy as we are. And obviously the elders have gone through a different era. They long for talk. How was your day? What are you doing? But they're not getting this interaction. So they're longing and yearning, and if they do say, how was your day? It'll be a cursory, yeah, it was okay, yeah, dad, granddad, whatever, and then you carry on, and out of, respect, they're going to say, okay, he's busy. And then sadly, when that person dies, then we remember them. Then we're all crying at the grave, if only I had one more minute with you, I would have told you how much I loved you. But that person was like a ghost in the house for 6-7 years because nobody wanted to engage with them because we were all on the screens. So we need to look at this social, this affects a person as well. It affects the mental well-being of even the elders who are not on these devices. You have to be very considerate about the impact that this will have on others around you. You have to put these devices away and start speaking and asking them, how was your day, granddad, grandmother, aunt, whoever it is? You want to go for a walk? Let me go out with you for a walk. Don't just abandon them and then later on cry, if only you could come back. They can't come back. Nobody can come back. So that's another thing. Communication is lacking. The other thing is sleep. وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا. Allah is saying, I've created rest, sleep for you to rest. Al-layla libatha. The layl is libas. The night is a covering, it's a garment. Like dark now. How does it feel now? It's dark now. How do you feel? Do you feel wide awake? No. Naturally, as it gets darker, remember Allah's created you. Elon Musk hasn't created you. Yeah, Allah's created another chemical inside you called melatonin. As it gets darker, melatonin increases, getting you ready to go to sleep. But when you're on these devices, it reduces that melatonin. Then all of a sudden, your body is saying, I want to sleep, but your mind is saying, no, carry on. And then instead of sleeping at 10 o'clock, you scrolling till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then the next day, you can't wake up on time. You take that attitude with you to school in the morning. Instead of waking up at 6, 7, breakfast, you stumble out of bed. It's like just your cortisol levels. Again, cortisol is like a stress chemical. Again, Allah's created us. That is high in the mornings because it's preparing you for the day. It makes you alert. But what do? Instead of using that focus, okay, get out, put my clothes on, wash myself, pray for Fajr, no, we go straight for the phone. That alertness, you take the edge of that alertness. You take the edge off it. And then you become stressed. Because you're going into the news first thing in the morning. You already have a high level of cortisol. And then you shoot it through the roof because you're seeing what's happening here. You're seeing what's happening there. You check your WhatsApp message. And you've had some not so nice messages from a not so nice friend. Then all of a sudden you're like, you don't need this. And what happens there? Everything is a building block towards bad emotional health for you youngsters. This is what research is showing. These are the building blocks, the negative building blocks for mental health issues because of these screens. A 1-week research was done in Harrisburg University in 2010. This was back in the days. Imagine it's a lot worse now. 2010, they took Facebook away. They said on campus, one group will take Facebook off. The others, you can do what you like. Let's see how this affects them. And then they found that those who didn't go on Facebook for a week, they improved academically. They felt less stressed. There's no panic. There's no stress. They really enjoyed themselves. They could actually connect with their learning, enjoy. And the others, they were just still stressed because they spent too much time. And then, my days, I've got to do my homework. I've got to do this reading here for this book. And they're all panicking. So imagine what's happening to you if you're going on the devices all the time and you have your homework, you have your Quran work, your madrasa, you have other things. Why are we pressing the self-destruct button? Then you got the FOMO. Anyone know what FOMO means? Jazakallah khair. Fear of missing out. Your brain can't switch off. Your brain, there's an internal dialogue taking place that you fear that you're missing out on something. So what do? You jump into your phone and you're checking every minute. It's okay, pump the brakes. The earth will carry orbiting without you checking the life goes on. But we don't know this. We need to just check. everything, and it causes a mental issue again, because you're not happy with the here and the now. Even if you're conversing with somebody, you're speaking to somebody, mentally you're saying, okay, when can I have that quick opportunity? When he looks away, grab my phone and quickly check what's going on. It's a FOMO, fear of missing out. Mental health issue here. And then you have, in 2021, Frances Haugen, an ex-employee of Facebook. She came out, she was a whistleblower. Whistleblower means a person who works for an organization, knows everything from inside. They are not happy with what's taking place. They speak to the management. Management are like, well, so what? That's the way we're doing it. And then they say, look, enough is enough. I have certain principles. I have certain values. These do not align with my values, and I will leave. And then I will go and tell people about it. So what did Frances do? Well, she was working for Facebook, and Facebook did this research on Instagram related to teenagers. Is it good for them? Is it bad for them? So they did a massive pool survey, and they found out the results that came back were very bad for Facebook. They said, look, we feel bad, we feel anxiety, depression, we don't feel good about ourselves, we're very body conscious, I don't think I'm skinny enough, I don't think I'm muscular enough, all these things. So Facebook were thinking, uh-oh, this is going to be bad for us. So what did they do? They put it under the carpet. Don't worry about it. She got access to all of this information. She approached them. They said, we're not going to do anything about it. She said they put profits before your health. That's all it is. Silicon Valley, Zuckerberg and all these Twitter and Elon Musk, they don't care about you. They care about money. They just want to take your time. Even if you end up in a psychiatrist ward or whatever, they just want your time. They don't care about your mental health, your physical health. So then she went out and then she addressed the Senate in America. She addressed the Republicans, the Democrats, all the Congress people. And still there was a big debate that went on. They understood, but they're not going to do anything. They didn't say, okay, tomorrow Facebook finished. They said, okay, we'll give you an action plan. Try and do these things. That's all it was. But she came out with everything, and you can research that as well. Another thing that happens to you, cyberbullying. Very bad. Happens a lot at your age, unfortunately. It used to happen at our age as well, but there was no screen. You always had the bully in the playground. Every time, every school, every town, you always have a bully in a playground. But now the bully can hide behind a screen. And you can get cyber trolled online. And people can say really nasty things about you. And according to research, many people will end up really clinically depressed because of the abuse that they're getting. And many, like these two people that I'm going to mention, they end up killing themselves, suicide. This is the dark world of social media and being on screens, guys. This is why I'm saying youngsters, be very careful. The first one was a 15-year-old Amanda Todd back in 2017 from Canada. She took her life. Unfortunately, she took her life because when you befriend the wrong person, remember, online, you don't know who's who. And that person made her send a private picture, which she then used to say, you know what, I'm going to blackmail you now. It's going to go to your family, your friends, your school. And she was like, the whole world's going to cave in now. Anyone can make a mistake. It was just like a picture, a private picture of her. And then she was so guilt-ridden, she killed herself. Imagine how many of you could be on that situation when somebody as a prank says, do this, you do that, they capture it on a screenshot, they go, you've had it now. I'm going to showcase to the whole world. You're not going to say, yeah, do it, man. I'm okay, I'm going to take it. You're going to say, oh no. Yeah, because we all have a certain persona, right? You have a certain persona in front of your family, you have a certain persona in front of your friends. You don't want to show that persona in front of your friends, in front of your family. But if you have some real bad friends and they troll you and they say, that's it now, and then your whole character will change. You'll be bullied in class, they'll be sharing those pictures with the friends, and whenever you walk into a class, everyone's giggling. Imagine how that will make you feel. And there was another one called 16-year-old Jessica Laney. Again, because of cruel suggestions now. There's this website called ask.fm. Ask.fm or .fm, which just you can speak to each other on really controversial issues. Ask them this, ask them that. So people were like really up close and nasty. So they were saying to this girl, yeah, you're just ugly. Why don't you kill yourself? It had no filters about controlling, moderating. It's just like one of those, why don't you kill yourself? You're ugly, you're this, you're that. And she felt so bad about herself. She said, yeah, you know, why not? If I'm getting trolled that much, why not? Why should I not end my life? Let's do that. And she ended her life. So the point I'm trying to make, you youngsters are at that development part of your life, very emotional. You will not know what's happening. You will want to make friends. If you don't make the friends, you'll feel vulnerable, you feel weak. All this is happening on your devices, guys. Is it really worth it to spend all that time when you could be doing those things that I'm going to mention now and conclude the talk with? What are those things that you should be doing? Yes, if you have a device, if you have parents who have given you a phone, balance is key. I'm not saying don't use a device. I'm saying use the device. Don't let the device use you. That's the key word here. You be in control of it. Don't let the device be in control of you. You're waking up late every time because of being on it every night. You're going on different things that you're not supposed to be going on. You're not getting the exercise. You're feeling insecure about yourself. You're feeling very jealous and envious about other people as well. That's a natural characteristic as well. It's a spiritual vice. It's nothing good to be proud of, but it can happen. What was the first murder that took place on the earth? Habil and Qabil. One brother was envious about the other. This was the son of Adam, and they weren't like the mafia. Good tarbiyah, but the human condition. Yusuf alayhi salam. Look at Yusuf alayhi salam. His brothers, look what they did to him because of jealousy. Now Yusuf alayhi salam's father was who? Yaqub alayhi salam. Yaqub alayhi salam was the son of who? Ishaq alayhi salam. Ishaq alayhi salam was the son of who? Ibrahim alayhi salam. Look at that lineage. There were not no Al Capones from, Italy selling drugs and, but they had the proper tarbiyah. Fear Allah, this, but shaitan penetrated. And he created waswasa in the hearts of the brothers to say, you know what? Dad always loves our brother more than he loves us. Let's get rid of him. So imagine you're uploading every time, look at me. And deep down, according to research as well, people are saying, you show off, man. There was a research paper called The More You Like, the More Envy It Generates on Facebook. Yeah? The more you like, the more you hate. It's a research paper that really blows your mind that what goes on. People don't like this too much showboating. So it's sometimes good to show less and just be thankful in private to Allah. Have private showings of gratitude to Allah. Private. You and Allah say, Allah, thank you for everything you've given me. You don't have to put it on Facebook and Instagram. Say, Allah, really thank you. Allah, you've changed this in my life. You've given me this. You've given me that. I really want to. You don't have to put it on Facebook. That's fake then, isn't it? That's not showing appreciation to Allah. It has to be secret between you and Allah. So some of the ways of you, again, get that balance right. Some of the solutions we're going to finish now. So get the balance right. Now that you know what's happening, get the balance right. Okay. Second is introduce leisure, introduce social skills, introduce these things into your life. Try and rely less on these devices, on games and everything. Be the human being that Allah has created you to be. You're not like a robot. You're not like an autopilot person like who's just like switched off. You're actually a human being. Use those senses that Allah has given you. Go out, enjoy, run. Let those natural endorphins flood your brain when you have a good run, football, cricket, whatever you do. It's a lot better for your mental development than sitting at home on a screen. You'll come back sharper. If you read a book, you'll be reading it, absorbing more knowledge, because your brain pistons are firing on all cylinders now. But if you sit and just watch this, you're going to be vegetating like a potato. And also set time limits. So I would say to the gatekeepers here, the parents, get apps that you can set time limits. So okay, half an hour, if you want to go on Instagram, after half an hour, I have the password, you're going to be locked out. You can't override the password. So slowly what's happening, it's weaning you off, because the body also has a certain way of working. If you build in those habits and they are hardwired into your brain, like sketched in really deep, very hard to get rid of that. So you slowly need to wean off. It takes about 30, 40 days to slowly wean off. Then you don't mind. You say, Dad, you know what, today I don't even want to go on Instagram. Because you haven't been going on it for like 4 hours a day. You just been going on 30 minutes, you know what, today is not even interesting. 10 minutes is enough. So you need to start putting in certain apps that disable if you go over that particular app, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, okay? And join a club, make a youth club, do any hobbies, anything that's going to take some of your time and allow you to use your brain and physical, whatever it is, but just try not to be a person who stays at home. And ultimately, you are the person who makes the choices. You are the person. You cannot blame anyone now. Now that you know the choices. You can be like the first group of the marshmallow theory, the second group, or the third group. The choice is yours. Nobody was forcing them, putting a gun to their head and saying, take the marshmallows. You have the choice. Are you able to resist the devices to a certain degree? Or are you just going to sit back and say, just take over my life device? I know I'm going to get depressed. I know I'm going to feel really bad about myself. I know I'm going to feel insecure, but that's it. I don't mind. That's a really sad place to be. And I always encourage the Masjid to set up an initiative to talk about these issues in a way which is a safe environment. If anybody does end up getting into trouble, anybody does get in a compromising situation where they may have done something which is wrong, the Masjid says, don't worry, we're not going to judge you. It happens, you're a human being. Because the last thing that you want is a person to feel so bad that they do actually feel suicidal. So no worries, okay, what are the lessons that you've learned from this? We're not going to judge you. We're going to help you not to do that again, but what are the lessons that you can learn from this? What are the take-home points? That's it. Never judge people. Especially youngsters, because it's a difficult time for them growing up in this time with the phones, and everyone's naive. They're very gullible, and that's the last thing. Oh, my dad's gonna find out. He's gonna kill me. My mom's gonna, my uncle, my auntie, my next door neighbor, my cat's gonna find out. You're gonna make a mistake. You have to have a network, a safety mechanism, a safety net that catches you when you fall. It says, don't worry. That's what you call a community. We'll support you. Don't worry. But don't do it again. Try your best not to. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us. So I just want to go through the quick points again. The first one was what? Let's get some hands up. What was the first one? Actually, I've got 3 buttons. I'm going to ask 3 questions. And whoever gets that, you can have 1 as a prize, 2 as a prize, 3 as a prize, 3 separate questions. So the first question is, let me just run through what I mentioned. The first point was about time, the importance of time, and how things have changed now that everyone has got gadgets and devices, yet the research is showing that it's very bad for the brain. The second point was to show why was it bad for the brain. We really unpacked the concept of dopamine, how things are hijacked in the brain, causing emotional issues, sleep issues, all the other kind of stuff. We spoke about that. And the third one was some of the solutions. Okay, so those were the 3. So now I'm going to look at a few questions that I'm going to try and ask. And because it's a young audience, I'm going to start very simple questions. Okay, and I'm going to make sure it's a youngster. I don't want any adults answering. I know you like these buttons, and everyone's got a sweet tooth. Okay, so some of the youngsters ask you a quick question. What is that chemical that we discussed begins with a D? Dopamine. Come on, sir. You can have this. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. What's your name? Abdurrahman. Here you go. Enjoy. Don't eat all at once. Okay. Barakallahu feek. Okay. So, okay. That's the first one. The second question. I haven't even thought about the questions. I'm just thinking that random. What can I... Okay. Second one. We gave the 4 acronyms. FOMO. What do they mean? Brother Umair got it right. He's not going to get the Cadbury's, but what does it mean? Yes? Well done. Come on down. These are yours. Definitely, you're not going to miss out on these buttons. You're definitely having these. So there's no fear of missing out there. MashaAllah. Well, Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah. Well done. Okay, and last one is... Okay, this is self-reflection one now. Okay, so I want you to give me 2 ways that you would introduce or bring into your life if you wanted to come off the devices. What 2 things would you do? So it's a bit of self-reflection. Okay, yes, you.
First thing I'll do is like get rid of my phone or some devices around me and take some time off the screen.
Okay, mashallah, that's one, yeah, well done. And then anything else that you would do to introduce in your life?
I'll start doing like classes, social classes.
MashaAllah, mashallah. Exercise, going out with friends. Well done. Come on, this is yours. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. What's your name? Abdurrahman. MashaAllah. Well done. There you go. Okay, well done. Well done, guys. Jazakumullah khair. Just want to mention, my book, inshallah, will be out mid-October. 15 chapters, covers everything in a lot more detail. I think it's very important. These are one of the biggest challenges that we're facing. I feel as an ummah, we are supposed to be at the top of what's happening in the world. We're at the bottom. And we have to try and get back up to the top, be the best that we can. And the best way to do that is to develop yourselves. Learn what the enemy is. Technology can be a friend and it can be a foe. But you have to understand how to use technology. So inshallah you can take this when it's out, and I will let the masjid know, and you got it on audio book as well, and you get it on ebooks. You got 3 formats. Jazakumullah khair. If there's any questions, we can have some questions related to what I've just discussed, and then we will wrap up. Any questions? Feel free, youngsters, any questions? Anything you want me to clarify that you didn't understand? Abdurrahman, yes sir. Why did I make a book on social media? Okay, Jazakallah khair, good question. 2 reasons. One, it's a very important topic close to my heart, because when I started to read into the things that were happening, when I started going into the social science research papers, I felt it was very important to speak about this. And secondly, and this is very, very sad, secondly, I think perhaps this is when it comes out, it's perhaps going to be the only social book by a Muslim. There's not much out there. If you look into the non-Muslim sector, there are thousands of books on beating social media addiction, atomic habits, productivity, being the best version of yourself. Muslims, we are supposed to be the best nation that has been raised by Allah, and yet there's not even a book written about this. So an imam might be struggling, a practicing person might be struggling, a non-practicing person might be struggling, male, female, everyone across the board is struggling. That's why I thought it's good to put it in a book, so that at least you have something and you can refer to it if you're ever struggling. Jazakumullah khair. Yes, last question. Should you give children devices? I think as a child gets older, over the age of 11, 12, you must. There will never be a time, I think, when a child is 13, 14, he doesn't have a device. This is just part of social pressure. But the child must learn how to use the device at that age. Okay? I think I discussed this when we had the lecture in the community hall 3 or 4 years ago. If you are 13, 14, such is the pressure. If you don't have you're going to get bullied. Your daddy doesn't buy you a phone, and you're just going to feel really bad about yourself. But if you're able to use the phone in a way where your parents are able to put in certain features, where you have privacy settings, all this, and as you get older, you will, inshallah, be able to walk down that path by yourself. Jazakumullah khair. Safe journey back. I hope you don't have to swim back. I hope the floods have receded. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Ustadh.